We're here with Justin Ringle from Horse Feathers, man. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it. There seems to be this thing going on in the Pacific Northwest between Portland and what's going on in Seattle and even up north in Vancouver a little bit. This kind of folk rock, folk indie revival, whether it's you guys or Fleet Foxes or even Blitz and Trapper, who are from Portland. What do you think that is? What do you attribute that to?
I honestly don't know. You know what I mean? Like I started doing kind of more acoustic-based music in 2004, and at the time I didn't know that many people that were really doing it, but I think everybody was kind of independently doing that. I don't know. I guess there's an intimacy to it, and some of it, in some of the music that I think maybe reflects maybe the weather a little bit, I suppose.
Right. Well, let's talk about the weather, because Thistled Spring is your record that came out in April, and I think that your music has always sort of painted lush picturescapes of weather, and the last record obviously is spring, and it kind of builds to a lusher, more exciting spring. But you still seem down in some of the early works on the album.
Well, you know, it's kind of funny because spring in Portland and the Pacific Northwest at large is kind of a grab bag, because it's kind of the same season as our late fall and the beginning of our summer. Right. So it's just kind of it doesn't really transition that evidently from winter into spring, and I think there's some kind of in between areas, not only just in the weather but also in mood. Right. I think I was just trying to capture some of that in some of the music.
Is it a concept album? I mean, did you intentionally mean it to be, have that feeling of spring and the growth of spring from spring to the summer? Like,
I mean, I suppose it is a concept album in how I tried to make some of the content be uniform in that theme. Right. But I didn't write it as a concept album. It was more that I wrote a lot of the songs during that season, and only in retrospect did I realize that they had that theme. Right. And then I started to kind of piece it together a little bit more, but so loosely, I guess. Yeah.
The record seems lusher than previous works, and is that tough for you? I don't know how much of the album is recorded live off the floor, but I get the impression that some of it is, but there's a lot more layering that goes on probably afterwards with more instruments. I mean, there's only 4 of you, right?
Right. Actually, this record was recorded mostly live, actually more live than any of the other records.
Wow.
There's a little bit of overdubbing, but like the first song on the record, Thistled Spring, the studio version, was recorded entirely live except the vocals. We had like a quartet and the piano all live, and it's something that I definitely would like to investigate more with this type of music. There's a different type of energy to it, I think, when you do it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Love the harmonies on Belly of June. Is that something that you guys concentrate on? Like, how much effort do you guys put into making sure that, you know, the harmonies are just right and you get through them?
Well, that one was interesting because I actually harmonized with myself on that one and wrote the parts to that one in particularly just like out of the blue, but on other tunes, it's something that we do have to fine tune and work on. Right. And it you know, it just takes practice, like most things.
Veronica Blues is more of an upbeat track than what we're used to from you guys. Is that something that, you know, you're going to go for in the future?
I don't know. That particular song also was I don't know. You know, I mean, it just seemed to fit, and it was one that I wanted to write, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know where I'm going right now, but maybe I'll know maybe earlier this year, next year.
There's no, you're not one of those guys that has a pad and paper and you're constantly writing, or are you and you just don't know where that stuff's going to end up?
You know, I do, but I don't. I'm not a lyrics first person. Right. Usually the song and the lyrics kind of come up. They're kind of born at the same time, and then they kind of develop at the same time. So. Oftentimes, I don't know which way is going to or which one is going to influence the other first. You know.
Drain You, thank you for the cover
Oh.
of the track. Nirvana was signed to Kill Rock Stars way back in the day, right? Is that the story?
I think that they released a few songs
Right.
in the very beginning of the band,
Right.
like on some 7 inches and kind of in a very like DIY punk way,
Right.
in the very early genesis of Nirvana. But
And so what made you decide to cover that song specifically and now?
well, part of it, there's 2 reasons. One was this, that I've always been a giant fan of the band. I
Right.
mean, it's weird to admit now because I feel like I kind of live in a different galaxy than that.
Yeah.
But when I was, 14, it was kind of, that's how I learned how to play guitar, like. So in one way, it's kind of an homage, if you will, to that.
Right.
But also, simultaneously, I've always loved the song, and I felt it was a really good challenge to try to take one of Kurt Cobain's melodies and try to turn it into a folk song, because
Right.
he has beautiful melodies that are in there, but I think that they're kind of behind 14 layers of guitar,
Yeah.
Grunge
Stuff.
like, yeah. So anyhow.
Cool. Well, it worked out great. I think
Oh, thank you.
I actually prefer the cover because I'm not into the, fuzzy guitars and loud
Right,
noises.
right,
so,
right.
but that's just me. I know other people love the original. You guys are still on the road for a bit. Is that the plan?
Yes, we're doing the Northeast this next week, and then the Southeast of the United States for the next 2 weeks, and then we're doing the West Coast after
Cool.
that. So
It'll be a little bit warmer on the West Coast than it is here, probably.
probably this isn't bad though.
Right. Well, it's like home, probably, right?
Relatively,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
pretty close. A little rainier right now, but
Cool.
yeah.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time. Really
course,
appreciate
thank
it. And we'll see you real soon.
All right.
Explore Music wears English Laundry apparel.